Yeah. JJ, the CPA is here. Let's go. Yeah. Money. You know what it be. All I do is work, cause money never sleep. You never met a CPA quite like me.
JJ, the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining me today, whether live, which I love it that you're here live, or you're rewatching this. I am Joshua Jensen. I'm a certified public accountant. I have been practicing now for 30 years. I've got my own CPA practice. So I'm in the trenches every day dealing with my clients. I don't do YouTube for a living. I'm a CPA for a living. I do taxes for a living. And this show is brought to the small business owner and the self-employed to help you along your journey. I hope you will join us every Monday. We're live 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. I've got a link in the body of this video for prior episodes. But before we get too much further into this is JJ, the CPA's Small Business Toolbox.
The combination to money making, we got this. JJ, the CPA, is the master locksmith.
All right, so some of the things I'm talking with my clients right now, I want to get right out the gate, and then I'm going to go through a top 10 with you today, what small business owners need to be doing now. I also want to go through a 101 for the self-employed. I'm going to give you a little bit of advice or share some that I dealt with my clients here recently with a kind of a circumstance that came up. I also want to visit with you a little bit about for those that have been doing things or owned a business for over 5 years. And then what's not on this list, I'm going to talk to you about at the end, putting an LLC on the shelf. We also have a special caller today. We're going to be talking about a new book that she came out with. So with that being said, let me get right into what the IRS had came out with. And let me tell you this is nothing to worry about, okay? This is good information for you. When we hear the word IRS, you know, my clients included, it's like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? We don't need to fear the IRS at all, in the sense that they give us the rule books. It's right there at irs.gov with plenty of forms and instructions and rules and publications. A lot of information out there. You get yourself a good tax advisor, and there really shouldn't be anything that you need to worry about as long as you're reporting your income properly and following the rules. But this is why you're tuned in today. So the IRS has come out and indicated just a few days ago that the mileage rate for July through December will be 62.5 cents per mile. Now, this is business miles on your personal vehicle. And the mileage rate January through June of 2022 is 4 cents lower, or 58.5 cents. So bottom line is when we hit July, if you're reimbursing yourself for mileage, you get to reimburse yourself a little bit more. For the self-employed that are writing off their miles, be sure that you're tracking that, and then you will be able to write off more per mile. The other thing I want to make sure that everybody is remembering is that estimated tax payments are due quarterly. Now, the date that this is being aired live, which is June 13th, we have in 2 days the second quarter estimated tax payment, which is due June 15th. But in case you're watching this later, the thing to note with quarterly estimated tax payments is that they are due quarterly, but the IRS kind of has their own quarter. It might be a graphic up top, potentially, that you've got on that there, Amanda, my producer. Here is the sheet on that. If we want to put it up, you might check the very, very top. You might have put those up there. There you go. So with the estimated individual tax payments, second quarter's due June 15th, third quarter September 15th, fourth quarter January 15th. You should have already paid first quarter, which was due in April, but it doesn't matter if you're watching this a year from now. These are historically always the due dates when you pay in your estimated individual tax payments that are coming due. Now, related to this is in conjunction with your withholdings. This is not related to payroll taxes. So this is not related to Form 941 or withholdings or anything with W-2s. So these are kind of the things that are going on now, but I always want to make sure that our show is relevant. Now I want to bring to you the top 10. I talked with Amanda Amanda is my fiance, and she is also the producer, doing a wonderful job. And we are now in our 7th episode live with you. During the pandemic, my channel really came alive. Thank you for that, and all those that have been in support of this, going back now well over 2 years. We started the channel in 2018 with the same focus that we have now, which is helping small business owners. And we went live almost every day during the pandemic, sometimes up to 5 hours, going through things that we were all dealing with. And then we took a little bit of a hiatus, and now we're back doing this weekly live show. One of the things that I think we're going to do each week is to have a top 10. And a top 10, not necessarily to be humorous per se, but to give you some good information kind of right here at the beginning. I know there's some that maybe don't want to tune in for the full time that we're doing these live shows. So I want to try and pack in as much as I can at the beginning for you. So top 10 right now, small business owners need to do now. And guess what? This top 10 applies to pretty much any time of the year. But this is what I'm talking to my clients about right now. This week, the appointments that I have with my clients talking about their taxes, starting about the beginning of May until about maybe the end of June, this is really what we're talking about. But for those that aren't getting this done, I'm reminding my clients of these things pretty much every time I meet with them. And most clients, I do meet with them on a quarterly basis, kind of depending on their needs. But number 10, gather your receipts and bank and credit card statements for 22. Now, right now you're thinking, well, wait a minute, that sounds like tax season. Wrong. You want to gather this information now. Why? Because that leads to number 9. You need to reconcile your bank statements and your credit card statements to your books now. Why? So that you're caught up. And why do you want to do that? Because that leads into number 8 of what small business owners, the self-employed, need to be doing now, which is reviewing your withholdings and your estimated tax payments for individual taxes. Now, for some, they're like, I'm too busy. I don't want to deal with that. I'm tired from running my business. And gosh, it's taxes. And that's the wrong way to approach looking at your withholdings and your estimated tax payments, because really, if you think about it, it's the number 1 expense for most small businesses and self-employed, meaning individual taxes, including self-employment taxes. You want to gather up your information. You want to reconcile it. You want to know where your withholdings are, what you've paid in, why, so that you can start figuring out what you can do about it. So number 7, what you need to be doing right now is also reimbursing yourself as an owner for any expenses that you paid personally. Why do that now? You know, JJ, listen, I want to wait till tax season. You know what? You probably aren't a fit to be one of my clients if you want to wait till tax season. Now, I'm going to let you know I'm not taking on new clients. So this show doesn't lead you to call a number and hire me, because I'm not for hire. But what I'm telling you is my clients don't get to wait until tax time, period. We are dealing with things now. Why? Because we don't want to forget about them is really the biggest thing. So right now, here we are about mid-year. Now, if you're in October, you're in December, heck, if you're in the first quarter of the following year, this is good to do at any time. But look at what have you paid personally that is for your business that you need to get reimbursed. So if you have an S Corp or a partnership or a C Corp, and you are using personal funds, whether it's cash or personal card, personal bank account, personal debit, and you have those receipts, then put together an expense report, just like you would have one of your employees, and have your business write you a check. Now, here's what's key. Here's what's key. With a partnership, an S Corp, and a C Corp, if you don't reimburse yourself, you don't get the deduction. I don't care who you are. And if you're a tax pro that has in the past done a journal entry, it doesn't fly. It does not fly. If you're doing a reclassification of distributions, they don't fly if the IRS were to come and look at it. It needs to be a distinct reimbursement to yourself. Now, the other thing, number 6, kind of coinciding with that, is reimburse yourself, business owners, for any business mileage you've had on your personal vehicle. Now, I just told you at the beginning, we've got a new mileage rate, 62.5 cents for July through December of 22. The first 6 months, it's 58.5 cents a mile. But reimburse yourself those miles. Now, if you have a corporate vehicle, this doesn't apply to you. Now, for the self-employed, those that are filing Schedule C, now, it doesn't matter if you're an LLC, you have to look at how you're filing your taxes. So if you're filing a Schedule C, meaning you're not filing a separate tax return, you don't have to worry about reimbursing yourself, like we said in number 7, for your expenses, and you don't need to worry about reimbursing yourself mileage, because you are the exception that you then just get to write those expenses off. But I hope you stay with me, because I'm going to do a quick, very quick self-employed 101 on why you need to stop filing Schedule C and laying down and allowing yourself to just pay an unlimited amount of self-employment tax in addition to your individual income taxes. But let's move on. Number 5, small business owners need to do now: set up automatic payments from your business into your retirement account. Okay, so what am I talking about here? 401k, your SEP, your IRA, if that applies to you, or your simple plan. Now, here's the deal. You do want it to come from your business account, because it's the business that is in essence funding this. But note this, okay? For those that are S Corp owners or C Corp owners, you got to have wages for any of this to apply to you. For your partners, okay, for you to participate, you have to have guaranteed payments, meaning you have to have self-employment earnings, or you have to have box 1 subject to self-employment earnings to then be able to put into a retirement account. But it can go, in essence, from the partnership if you deem it as also then, boom, a guaranteed payment. Now, for the self-employed, it can come from your personal account, because see, the self-employed, those that are filing a Schedule C, maybe a Schedule F, you don't have a separate entity. Now, you may have a separate, in essence, ID number. You may have gotten an EIN. You may have set up an LLC. But see, with the IRS, however you file your taxes with them is the rules that you follow. So if you're an LLC, but you're filing a Schedule C, then you're considered self-employed Schedule C. And therefore, related to this, when you're talking about putting money into retirement, well, it can come from your business or your personal. But here's the point. Start automatically doing it. Stop waiting for, well, when I have some extra money, or when I wait for tax time. And here's why. And I don't get really much talking into about the stock markets. I'm a certified public accountant, okay? I deal with taxes. Yes, I deal with finances and monies and retirement and things to that effect. But I don't get into the ups and downs of the stock market. But here's the deal. One of the things that I learned when I first opened my practice, all the way back before the turn of the century, 1997, folks, is when I opened my practice. Now, I graduated with my accounting degree in 1993. You're right. It doesn't look it, right? I look like not a day over 30. But with that being said, thank you. I got a thumbs up from Amanda on that one. With that being said, when I first opened my practice, I had a financial advisor, good friend of mine, and this one was Kevin, and he indicated to me that what's important for me to tell my clients when putting money into the retirement, small business owners and self-employed, is that it's time in the market. It's not timing the market. And the other thing is that if you're dripping money in over time, okay, so every month you're putting money in, well, maybe that part of that month is up, but then the next month it's down, but it's up, it's down, it's up. Whereas if you then go, okay, I finally have the money, it's the tax deadline, I have to put it in by April 15th, or if you're able to put it in with an extension, and now you have a deadline and you're now dumping the full amount that you're going to put into retirement on one date, then you're hoping that that was, oh my gosh, I hope that out of all the days in the entire year, I sure hope that was the best day to drop in $6,000, 13 grand, 20 grand, 26 grand, 56,000, or whatever the dollar amount is that you're putting into, depending on your plan. So by doing an automatic, or at least just putting your money in routinely throughout the year, you'll probably hit some highs, you'll hit some lows, but you'll average it out and it'll be better for you. So let's go now to number 4 of our top 10 of what small business owners need to do now. And it's estimate what you'll collect between now and the end of the year. And also estimate what it is that your expenses will be. You know, the easiest way for me to do this with clients, tax pros, listen up on this one. I don't know if you're doing this, but I started doing this, well, I guess at this point about 10 years ago. And what I run is a P&L for the last 12 months. And typically I do that month by month. And so I'll kind of do a full month, meaning right now with my clients, what I'm looking at is what are the prior 12 months of income and expenses to kind of then go, well, what do we think the net income is going to be for the year? Well, the last 12 months might be a real good indicator for you. And so when you're now looking at the last 12 months, especially if you're looking at a P&L that's month by month, like I do with my clients, is that right now, whatever month we're in, whether we're in June, you watching live, or you have to watch this in August, but if you're looking at the last 12 months, guess what you're also looking at? You're looking at, well, what was last? So if we're in June, because today is in June, if you're now looking at the last 12 months of P&L, then it would be June of 21 through May of 22. So right now, if I'm looking at with my client, we're looking at what was last June. That's kind of a good indicator of what this June may be. What was last July? Well, that's next month. That might be a good indicator of what to expect. What was last August? Well, that's only 45 days away. So it doesn't matter if you're watching this in October, it's the same premise of now you're also able to see what's to come. You're also able to see maybe what's different about that, but why? Because it goes to number 3, what business owners need to do now. And this is what I'm doing with my clients. I don't care if it is May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, okay? We are looking at all the time, what do we think the year is going to be? Now, once we hit January, we're kind of like, all right, well, we should know the year's over for the prior year. Once we're kind of in tax season, that's kind of our little 90-day void period where we're kind of more focused in on just getting the prior year tax return done. But what I'm telling you is all the other 9 months, we're focused in on what do we think the net's going to be for the year, okay? So determine then what is your tax on number 3. So if you know what your net income is, then you can kind of know what your tax is. And I'll tell you this, if I'm at a soccer game or baseball game, and one of my clients happened to be there, or even if somebody came in, they said, hey, I think I'm going to net, and just pick the number. I would say, on average, you're probably going to owe about 1/3 in federal taxes. Might be a little high, might be a little low, but just right? So if you're going to net 100 grand, it could be 30 grand in taxes. Now I know fellow tax pros will go, well, you can go to your tax bracket. I have an app on my phone and I can figure out that tax a little more accurately. Awesome. I love that. Okay. But what I'm telling you is, why do we want to do that? Because it goes to number 2 of what small business owners should be doing now. Number 2, tax strategize what you can do before year end to save taxes. Now, many think, well, I won't worry about that till I get till December. Ooh, time out. It's too late when we hit December. Might be too late in November. Why? Well, let's just say, for instance, you're a business that you need to buy some equipment. Well, we know right now there's certain shortages. It might take a while for you to pick what equipment that you want, maybe to order it, to get in, because you got to buy it and you got to place it in service before you're in to get the deduction, if this makes sense for you. The other aspect is sometimes when you're looking at the numbers, you're like, holy moly, okay, I'm netting X and I'm going to owe Y. So what can I do? So the answer is really Z, right? What I'm saying is if you wait till year end, or worse yet, you wait until tax season, meaning you wait till January and February and March, and you sit down with your tax advisor and you say, okay, hey, earn your keep. All right. Give me some good deductions that I can take. Right. Well, it's pretty much too late when the year is over. It's too late, other than maybe retirement or an HSA, a 529, which only helps your state. There's just not much you get to do once the year closes, right? I know I got fellow tax pros are like, well, it's accrual. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You still have to go with whatever it was before year end. And here's my point. Believe it or not, right now, I'm telling you, doing this for 30 years, being in the trenches with my clients, we are always looking at what do we think the year is going to look like. So I have an appointment tomorrow with somebody. We have a Zoom, 3 p.m. And one of the things that we did is, in advance, we got into QuickBooks. We looked at some reports. So I have some kind of a heads up of things where they're going to be. We're going to do a Zoom, but I'm going to have access to their QuickBooks. We're going to be able to pull up the financials. We're going to go through the balance sheet. We're going to go through P&L year to date. We're going to go P&L year to date versus the prior year. We're going to look at the last 12 months. We're going to be talking about, most importantly, what do we think the income is going to be through the end of this year? What are our expenses? Therefore, what do we think the net is? And then we can have an idea of what taxes are going to be, so that we can do what I'm talking about here is we can start strategizing right now. Now, for some that are like, well, I usually get with my person in the fall. Great. But you still can be looking at your numbers now. That gets us to number 1. Okay. If you haven't filed your prior year taxes, then get it completed in the next 2 weeks. So it doesn't matter what time of the year you happen to be tuning into this video. Thank you for that. And if you haven't subscribed, I'd love that. But the thing is that you do not anymore need to put off getting your tax return done. I don't care what your reasoning is. You don't have any more excuses, right? I don't let my clients have any excuses, because as a small business owner, as a self-employed, it doesn't matter how busy you are. The number one thing is to care for your business, which means to know your numbers, which means to know what are your grossing, what are your expenses, what is your net, which also then caring about those numbers is, what is my number one expense going to be, which is typically taxes, so that you can determine what it is that you can do to save on that. But here's what I tell people. So when I was bringing on new clients, again, I'm not taking on new clients, but when I was, what I would tell people is, I am not taking you on after December 1st, because I don't want to deliver somebody else's bad news. And the clients that I work with throughout the year, I reserve my time during tax season, meaning January through April 15th, to get their returns done. And here's why. You really delay the planning process. It doesn't make it impossible, but you delay the planning process when you don't have your tax returns done. Okay. You got to have them done. Now, we have some clients that are like, well, I want to get it all the way done, and for whatever reason, they're going to owe. I go, okay, but we're still filing it. You still got to get paying on the taxes. So owing is not a reason to then put off filing. Owing is not a reason to just like, well, I should just go ahead and take a peek. What's the number going to be? What's the number going to be? Know it. Okay. Because the worst thing you can do is not be planning already. So that was our top 10 of what small business owners should be doing now. Amanda, let me know who is on with us, and we are going to get on the phone here shortly, a special caller, which I'm going to tell you about. But we have client services on with us today. We've got Carla V. Thank you so much for being on. Andrew C. What's up, my friend? Stacy Swanner. Hello, hello. Hope you all are doing well. We've got Surefield Good, Rob of Imagine That Toys, wonderful fan all the way from the beginning, great friend now. And also, well, I can't tell anybody Rob, because then they'll be like, well, wait a second. How come Rob gets to be one? Eva, God's Dozer, Greg with Roll Tide, and JKXAO. Thank you so much, all of you, for being on. Well, I want to tell you something. We have a great friend of the channel, which is With Flying Colors. And I learned here recently that she has authored a book. And guess what? Today it is now ready for you to order. She was kind enough to send me an advance copy here. And it is The Law of Traction, Affirmation for Truckers. But here's the thing I want you to know is that when I was looking through this, so I marked a few pages, and then we're going to get her on with us. But look at these photographs in here. And I really love this page. And it says, my life is guarded by fenders, just like my semi. I stay ready for life's bumps. She's got another page in here, which I thought was good for our show, The Toolbox. So just wonderful pictures in here and inspiring things on each page. It says, I stay prepared in life, packing my toolbox in all. The last one I'll show you here is right there. Look at this beautiful picture in here. And it is, I am bold trucker. So in the body of this video, I have a link that you can go and buy this book. I also have a link because she has a YouTube channel that you need to go and support. It's a very neat, special, has some inspirational things in it. But we have with us, now I'm going to tell you this right now, right? You know we're not on CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whatever channel you watch, or ABC, or maybe you watch BBC, or you don't watch the news. My point is, it is me at home. I'm a practicing CPA. So here we have With Flying Colors. We just have her on speaker. We don't have a way to pipe it in.
I want everyone to acknowledge how she's listed in my phone.
Yes, right there. Boom. With Flying Colors. With Flying Colors, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Uncle JJ.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to turn this up a little bit here. So With Flying Colors has been a huge fan and has really become a part of our family. And we go by Uncle JJ and Aunt the Amanda. And so this is in essence our niece. Now I will tell you this, I'm not going to give away anything. Okay. But I don't know that I'm old enough to be your uncle. And I'm just doing that to save face for me. But thank you so much for being on with us today. Congratulations to your book. You must be excited about this. Before, for some, tell us a little bit about kind of what you're up to, what With Flying Colors is all about, and kind of what your business is, so that people have a little bit of a background.
So With Flying Colors is actually my pilot name. And I actually love that name because I'm with Flying Colors. I do everything with Flying Colors. And it's so broad that I can use it with anything. So that's my trucker name. That's my author name. Like, I can use it for anything. And so what I do is that for business, I have a logistics company. We do last mile delivery with cargo vans. And I became a trucker back in 2019. I decided to add line haul into my business. I'm a pilot for pleasure. I'm a sea captain for pleasure.
Wow.
And then I sat on my couch a month ago and said, you know what, are there affirmations for truckers? And I came up with this whole narrative for a book. I put it in writing. If all of you go onto my YouTube page, you can actually see where I drafted the cover of the page just sitting on my couch, brought it to fruition, and here we are.
I love it. I love it. And we just love your energy, and you always just make us feel so good. I know Amanda was in a little tiny fender bender, might have even been 2 years ago at this point, and you were so beautifully and wonderfully sent her some flowers. And so we just appreciate your friendship so much. But tell us what inspired you to write the book. I know that you said, you've done all of these other things. You indicated that there really wasn't anything that you found kind of related to this, but I'll tell you this, when I went through the book, which I appreciate you sending me a copy of, I found it inspiring. But what kind of gave you the inspiration, for lack of a better word, to get this published? Which, again, we have a link in the body of this video for you all to get one.
To be honest, what brought me about to do the book was when the fuel costs went up. We, as truckers, at this time of the year, it's usually always some downtime for truckers because the freight gets low, right?
Yes.
And so with that, on top of fuel, it just made everything so saddening. And so I thought to myself, what better way to kind of at least put a grin and a smile on a trucker's face, regardless if it's through this times that we're having or just any day, at all.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? I Googled, and there were no affirmation books for truckers. There was nothing. There's nothing on the market like it in the whole entire country. There's nothing.
Wow.
There's nothing whatsoever, even overseas. There's no book like it. There's nothing at all, basically, for truckers like this. Nothing. And so I sat down, I was talking to my fiance, and I was like, you know what, babe? I need to do this. I need to get this done. And so I kept coming up with different acronyms that only a trucker would understand. I came up with acronyms for people who that are into trucking or love truckers or just want to be supportive, something that they would understand as well. And so when you read the affirmations, the photo corresponds with the affirmation. And so that was my creative process for this book.
I love it. Yes. And you are just, you're just such a beautiful soul to us, and you're just so inspiring to us. And so I was so excited when I learned of this, and I was so excited to learn about your YouTube channel. And I've subscribed to it. I went and watched some of the videos and commented on a few of those. I know that Rob of Imagine That Toys has already beat me there. I think he must have been there when you launched this thing. But tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel. And by the way, in the body of this video, those that are tuning in, go and click on the link to her YouTube channel. Hit subscribe after you buy her book. But tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel as we wrap up.
So my YouTube channel is basically everything that I do that revolves around my life. I'm going to be talking about trucking, piloting, me boating, gardening, becoming an author, anything that revolves in my life with flying colors. And that's why I call myself with flying colors. So it's an inspirational lifestyle blog. It's basically what it is. I just did a series back in May on trucking. The next series that I'm going to do is probably going to be on gardening, because summer is here and I just want to get people outdoors and, enjoying their backyard or small balcony or whatever you may have. But that's basically what my YouTube page is about. It's been sitting dormant since 2015.
Okay.
And I decided to finally bring it to life.
Well, I'm glad that you did. I do love it. And one of the things I admire is that you're able to get across some really neat ideas, thoughts, beautiful kind of pictures and whatnot on your videos. And concisely, that's one of the things I just got to be on. I kind of struggle with. I want to provide too much sometimes, but I love how concise you are with your videos. Well, thank you for coming on. Everybody needs to go to the link. Even if you're not a trucker, you will get something out of this. I'd love for you to support With Flying Colors, who's been so supportive of us. Check out her Instagram and be sure to follow her on that. But check out her book, which is on her website, which we'll give you a link to. And then also check out her YouTube channel, subscribe to it so that you can get some good information. So what, do you have a good vacation coming up anytime soon? Are you gonna do something to take a little bit of time off after doing all this hard work?
I want to try to go to Bora Bora for my birthday in August. I'm trying to get to Bora Bora.
Okay.
Wow.
Bora Bora. Well, that is amazing. Amanda's son had a school project, and they broke up the students into certain personalities. And whatever the personality was that was blue, for whatever reason, in all the classes throughout the day, I think there was like 6 different classes, and none of the classes knew it, but all of these that had the blue personality picked Bora Bora, of all places, to go on vacation. So, and the thing is that it was the most intelligent, and I'm only talking about high school students, but it was the most intelligent group, in my opinion, the way that Nick described it to me, that was selecting to go to Bora Bora. So you're going to be in some really good company out there in Bora Bora, people that are like you.
Aw, that's cool. And I also wanted to say too, well, once everyone goes and they've used my page and my Instagram and my website, I actually just finished a planner for women truckers, or any woman at all. It's so cute. It's the cutest thing. I'm actually picking up a physical copy of my planner today. And then awesome. I have a kid's version that's launching on June 23rd, which is my granddaughter's birthday.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that is awesome. Well, With Flying Colors, that is her pilot name, and what we know her here on our channel. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, do check out her book. Do check out her YouTube channel. None of this was paid. We just love her. And when I found out about this, I was like, oh, we have to go on live with you. I would love to let everybody know, because there's a lot of support in this community of quote unquote JJ the CPA, and you're such a big part of it. And I know people want to support you as well. So all our best with the success of this. And we look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks so much for coming on with us.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful as usual. You know that. I'm so grateful, and I'm so honored and humbled for you doing this for me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you bet. You bet. It's our honor. All right. Well, we're talking to you soon. Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So that was fun. Again, check it out. It's a nice thick book here with some really neat. Every page has a photo with some inspiration on it. You do need to go check it out. I'd love for you to get inspired by With Flying Colors. So Amanda, we want to report to everybody that Cooper is been back on the mound in his first bullpen. I had told you, and if you didn't know, my son Cooper, he wants to become a CPA. He's an accounting major in college. What an honor to, in essence, have my son want to do what I do. He wants to come work with me, all his idea. But nonetheless, he's also a baseball player. He's 6'5". He's a lefty, just finished up his freshman year of college, but he also just finished up a year of recovery from Tommy John surgery. And it is no longer the end of somebody's career when this happens. In many ways, there are organizations that favor a pitcher that's already had Tommy John surgery, because they're probably not going to have it again. But his elbow has been feeling so good. I've been so proud of him, working hard. He hasn't had anybody riding him, following up with him, but he's been doing his physical therapy and working out. so diligently, and then doing a throwing program that started all the way back in November, where he was only able to, at start, able to throw 10 throws from 10 feet. And then it's just been progressively a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. He's up to now able to throw 250 feet, what we call flat ground. And then he was doing some light pitching, but flat ground as in not on a mound, not on a raised platform, and then pitching from it. So for the first time, I think we have a little bit of video of that. Bam. Let's show that again. That's just so good. Boom. So he was able to throw 15 off of the mound, and he looked really good. So he's throwing probably around 75%. He'll be back throwing again tomorrow, and we're very excited about where he will be come his sophomore year. He was at Oklahoma State University. He won't be returning there. He's going to go where he's going to be able to get the best opportunity for baseball. He originally signed with Wichita State. We're going to let you know where he'll end up, whether it's Wichita State or maybe somewhere else, with Wichita State being the ultimate destination. Shh, don't tell him I told you all that. But I want to give you a little bit of update. I'm very excited about that. Some of you know, you've been watching my channel as long as you have, which I appreciate you. I love you, whether you're new or not. But for those that have been around, he and I did a number of videos together at the end of 2020 and in the early part of 21. And so, all right, let's get into the Self-Employed 101. And this is going to go quick because I have other videos on this. But here's the deal. We had somebody at the very beginning, I think it might have been client services, maybe Carla V, but somebody said, hey, I want to start a business. I saw the comment before we even went live, which I love. So Self-Employed 101, step 1, okay, is actually step 0. No, we did this on purpose. Yeah. So the first step is step 0, and it's pick 3 letters and pick 3 numbers. Let me tell you why. Because you know what I hear every time when I'm talking to small business owners and they're starting up a new business? So I have a client that I've been working with for 25 years, and they're getting ready to set up a new business, okay? We had such long discussion. I finally said, David, we need to just get the LLC set up. Will you just pick 3 numbers, pick 3 letters, let's put an LLC behind it, and then let's go now to really what we do. Number 1, set up an LLC at the Secretary of State. And you're going to go, wait a second, what do you mean 3 letters and 3 numbers? Guess what? Stay with me, all right? I'm the professional here for the next couple of minutes in this 101. Just stay with me. I promise I'll come back to it. But the thing is that so many small business owners, even like my client David setting up a second business, they get caught up on, well, do I want it to be this management and this services? Do I want it to be do I want it? And they then delay actually starting the process. Because see, when you go to the LLC and you set up a Secretary of State name, that's just, here's my umbrella. Here's what I'm starting a new business. I'm formalizing it. And there are a number of things that you need to do after that. But if you cause yourself to just come to a screeching halt, you won't get a business card, you won't buy signage, and you won't open a bank account, you won't do anything because you're like, let me talk to my dad. Let me talk to my mom. Let me talk to my spouse. Let me talk to my partner. What does my son think? What I got a dream about it. What is my name going to be? It is important, but I will tell you about that when we get to step 9. So set up your LLC. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be some name. Get the thing set up. Number 2, get an EIN at the IRS. Go to irs.gov. In the body of this video, I gave you a link. It'll walk you through it. You get an EIN at the IRS. It'd be better if you had a professional, but for those that are just do it yourself? So DIYers, okay? I gave you the link to go get it. Number 3, set up a business bank account. Guess what? You can't set up a business bank account until you have an LLC at the Secretary of State and until you have an EIN. When you have those 2 magic things, then boom, you can set up a business bank account. The next thing I want you to do is file Form 2553 within 75 days of setting up your LLC. This is going to elect for you to be an S Corp. This is for those that are actively involved. I have a number of videos on this. Get with a professional. But if you're actively involved in your business, you want to be an S Corp. Stop looking left. Stop looking right. Maybe on your screen, this is left and this is right. Stop looking around. You need to be an S Corp. Period. The end. I got a great comment on our video last week, or maybe the week before when we went live, and they said, hey, I had heard that I shouldn't be an S Corp if I don't net more than about 50. I'm like, about net 20. But here's what I tell clients, okay? Do you plan to just net $5,000? I mean, like, what are we waiting for? You out the gate, get to be an S Corp, okay? Plan for success, plan to make some money, okay? Now, the next thing we want to do, number 5, is deposit all your income into your business account. That's right. Don't take cash. And if you take cash, deposit it. You set up your Square account. You set up anything where you're going to take payment. Got to have a business account. What do you have to have a business bank account? You got to have an EIN. So you get an EIN, guess what you have to do? You have to have an LLC set up. See how waiting to come up with the perfect name that you then want to trademark before you even have one customer delays everything. Number 6, you want to then pay all your business expenses in that same bank account. Why? So they net to what it is that you then have to pay tax on. So you want them in the same bank account. Number 7, figure out what expenses you pay personally that your business should pay, right? So I have a client. So I met with Emily and Kyle. These are true, real clients of mine. I'm not going to tell you the last names, but I met with Emily and Kyle. They've been clients for a long time, okay? And we sat down once again and I said, let's revisit what it is you're paying personally. I want to make sure that there's not a way that your business really should be paying for that. So I actually said, and these are clients I've been working with, as I told you, I mean, it's, 15 years. So I said, bring in your personal bank account statements and your personal credit card statements. And let's go through these line by line, last 3 months. And let's double check. Is there anything that somehow you're paying for that your business should pay for? But for you, self-employed, 101, small business owner, rocking and rolling, what are you paying personally? Because here's what I also hear when I brought new clients in. So I've told you several times, because I mostly want to make sure you know this show isn't to try and bring you on as a customer, because I'm not taking on new ones. I'm just here because I love you and this is fun. But when I would bring on new clients and they set up a new business, the first thing that I heard was, I need to know what it is that I can write off. Here's the answer. Anything related to your business. Anything related to your business. So then when you start getting cute and you're like, well, if I bought a motorcycle, could I write that off through the business? Yes, I can. Well, yeah. I mean, are you going to use it in your business? Are you going to make deliveries on it? Well, no, I just thought it'd be cool to have a motorcycle. Well, I mean, you're not using it for business. So why are you now asking me if you can go buy a motorcycle when you just started a business? You don't have any money to buy it. Why are you talking about buying a business motorcycle if you're never going to use it for business? Okay. Well, can I pay for my cell phone through the business? Yeah. Well, how? Because you're using it for business, right? Yes. So now out of your bank account that you set up, boom, you pay the cell phone bill, right? So figure out what it is that you're paying personally, and then figure out if the business can pay for it. And if you're like, well, I don't know if the business can pay for it or not. It's actually very simple. Are you using it for business? There's no way that you're like, I have no idea if I'm using that for business, right? See, this is the way I talk to my clients. So if you don't like that, that's fine. You don't have to worry about it because you're not going to be a client. But I have fun with my clients, right? And I have fun and we get laughing, right? Why? Because everybody's like this when they're talking about taxes and like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get audited. But what are the business expenses that I can write off? Can I write off my motorcycle? But I'm scared of the IRS. So get people relaxed, cutting jokes, throwing in a few voices. You're right. They're no good, right? I'm a CPA. I'm not a comedian and I don't do voices. Okay. But what I'm telling you is, don't tell me that you don't know what expenses are related to your business. If you don't know, this is what I would say. How in the world are you actually in business, right? And here's how, this is simple. Did you buy it and use it in your business? Did you buy it because you have a business? Well, I went to Disneyland. Okay. Is Disney your client? They are my client. Disney is a client of mine. Okay, well, then I guess that your travel out to your client because Disney is your client is an expense. But most people are going to like, well, no, Disney's they're not a client of mine. But guess what? I worked with somebody during the pandemic, and Disney was a client of theirs. They did choreography with Disney and J-Lo, and the list went on. I was like, okay, well, I'm glad that you asked me, because if it's related to your business, you get to write it off. So now let's go to the next thing, which is number 8, set up a website. Number 9, file a DBA with the Secretary of State under your LLC. Okay, so I told you, wait till number 9. We're at number 9. We only got one more to go. What's a DBA? Doing business as. Okay, it's very simple. In the state of Oklahoma, it's like $20 to file. I can pretty much do it myself. I recommend you get a professional to help you. But see, I have entities that I own. Okay, I'm not going to tell you the names, but I have entities that I own, okay, that are an LLC. So it's the business name LLC. You'd never be able to guess it. Now, if you knew me really, really, really well, all the way back to high school, you might be able to guess one of them. But with that being said, I own LLCs, and they're going to be gibberish, LLC, meaning you just never would guess. You wouldn't even know what that business is. But then when I now get something off the ground, and I'm like, you know what? That business name would be better to be this, okay? Then I just file a DBA. See, what you want to own is the name. Okay, an LLC does give you ownership of the name, but it's not the only way for you to protect the name in your state. In fact, you could file a DBA without an LLC, right? So if you're like, I'm going to start a business next year, I got the perfect name, go file a DBA. You just own the name. But my point is that I have many clients, they have one LLC and it's 2 businesses with 2 different business names with 2 different DBAs. It's all protected. But see how we were able to do all these things down to even setting up a website before we got all, let me tell you a perfect example of this is that we have a family member that started a new business, and they came up with the initials of their business, but they started doing business as it didn't check. So finally, when I was like, hey, whoa, what are we doing here? Well, let's get this a little formalized, okay? When they went to reserve the name, it was already taken. So my point is that when you're now trying to start your business, these are all the things to get going. Here's number 10. You ready? Sell, 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 and more importantly, collect, collect, collect. See, this is really what a business is, number 10. It's selling and collecting. That is a business. Then you want to pay the least amount of tax to net the most, but you need to know where your taxes are. Now, with that is our 101. Try to go through that. I'm going to cover 3 other things. I want to show you something a little personal here in a second, but I'm going to walk through with you some advice that I gave to a client here recently. And in fact, it's a client group. There's 3 of them. We'll just call them Mo and Len, and we'll call it JB. Okay. But some advice in a meeting that we had. We're having a follow-up meeting tomorrow. But I want to give you some of the insight of what I was talking to them about. I also want to share something with you about being in business. If you've been in business for 5 years, something for you to really consider. And then we have a bonus, wasn't even on the agenda, which is putting an LLC on the shelf. Okay. This is what really the ultra entrepreneur does, which is you. This is what the wealthy do, which is you or where you want to be, right? Putting an LLC on the shelf. But I think you knew, if you were tuning in last week live, which I appreciate you, Amanda and I went and got our engagement pictures, and we've got a few that we can show you right now. I was pretty pleased with them. So we went with kind of a theme of JJ the CPA and the Amanda here. So I found this wonderful pinstripe suit that was actually a 3-piece suit, threw on the pink socks to match the lovely the Amanda in her beautiful dress. We've got one more to show you there. So anyways, we had a great time last Tuesday and really enjoyed it. And we're excited that we're engaged, and we're excited that we'll be able to share these as our engagement pictures. So with that being said, we know that we've got a few on here. They're like, can you get past the personal stuff? Now, honestly, if you made it to here, that's not you. Okay. That's not you. You're into it. You like what we're talking about, which I appreciate you. So recent client advice. We're going to try and wrap up here in about 10 minutes. recent client advice. So I'm visiting with these 3 clients, and they're a little bit different age. So Mo is probably about mid 50s. Len is about early 60s, and JB is about mid 40s or so. Okay. So we have 3 different, kind of age groups there, so to speak. And we got talking last year about exit strategies, whether it's, does somebody want to retire sooner than the other 2? Do we want to sell this business? What direction is the business going? And we got talking about then buy-sell agreements, meaning, well, what if somebody were to pass away, one of the owners? What would that business be worth? How would we ensure that the person who passed away, their estate got paid the worth of the business? We got talking about, well, what would be the value of the business? And so with that, we've got to bring in other professionals. But really where I came in talking about this was, how do we ensure that the way this is structured is the way that you need it to be if we know that somebody's going to be exiting later, and simultaneously, possibly you're just going to be selling this entire business, if you will. Now, I'll just tell you this right now. They're an LLC, tax as a partnership. That's what they're going to remain. That's not really what I'm talking about. Really what we started looking at is, okay, what is this business really doing? Are there any add-ons? And do we need to split this out into 2 different businesses? Because many times you're looking at a business and things have grown over time. And I think it's been about 15 years. I've worked with one of the clients for 25 years, the other client for about 20, the other client for about 10. And then it's been about, I guess at this point, maybe 10 years, 12 years or so that this business has existed. But nonetheless, this has grown into really 2 different kinds of businesses. The other aspect is they have a related business that's providing some of the services to this business, but this related business isn't owned by all 3 of them. So what we started looking at was kind of the boring, but not to me, but we started kind of looking at the financials, which meant that we have everything reconciled. We have the books reconciled to the bank statements and the credit card statements. We're looking at the last 12 months and actually the last 5 years. And we're now looking at breaking out the revenue a little more concisely, breaking out some of the expenses, looking at, in essence, what are the services that are provided by the related company, ensuring that they're third party. And we're basically readying this, that they might be able to sell it 5 years from now. So this is going to go a lot smoother for them, planning 5 years in advance from potentially an exit of one or potentially selling all of it, and getting the financials in a position that really kind of reflect each, in essence, revenue stream. And in essence, really kind of dissecting the expenses. And really what came out of that is we probably really need to set up another LLC. And they've got 2 real kind of clear lines. It really started out as one, but they really had kind of another one creep up here. And it's kind of 2 different lines of revenue. But see, the thing is, and when I talk about the structure, we have the LLC, it's taxed as a partnership. We're going to set up another LLC, but see, we're going to set up that LLC that it will be owned by the original LLC. And believe it or not, we're going to have the original LLC that's taxed as a partnership wholly own the new LLC, meaning it's going to own 100% of it. So for IRS purposes, it's considered a disregarded entity. All that means is it doesn't file a separate tax return. And guess what? Still going to be one set of financials and one tax return. But the reason we're splitting these out now is that we're going to ensure that this stream of revenue is in the new LLC, and then the other stream of revenue is in the original LLC, so that when they go to sell it, they might be able to sell 2 companies, because even though it's one set of financials and one tax return, these are 2 different entities, 2 different streams of income. But let me tell you why it's so important. Guess what we did? We started with the new LLC, a holding period to help ensure they get capital gains. And guess what else? In the state of Oklahoma, if you own an Oklahoma business there's a 2-year, there's a 3-year, there's a 5-year, but if you own a business long enough, then you also can avoid legally paying Oklahoma tax on a capital gain selling an Oklahoma business, but you've got to have a waiting period more than a year in Oklahoma, okay, for it to qualify under that. Now we know for long-term capital gain, it's got to be a year. So my point is the structure is just minuscule difference. We set up a new LLC. We're getting it formalized. It's owned by the original LLC, identifying what revenue it is, ensuring that those rights, those intellectual rights, if you will, are designated to that LLC. So looking at that. So some recent client advice for those that have been in business for over 5 years. Okay. Here's what I want you to look at. And see, these are things that I'm talking about with my clients. Now I have a group 51, and I'm going to expand it when we get to the November. But I have a group 51. These are 50 business and tax pros that I get together with 3 times a month via a Zoom meeting. And we are walking through in very detail what it is that I'm going through with my clients. But when I go to YouTube, I want to give you good information that you can take to your advisors, okay? Or for fellow advisors like me, maybe something to just consider to take to your clients, add to the commentary. But if you've been in business for more than 5 years, I bet there's at least one thing that you're doing that you're not charging for. Okay. Now we have to remove some emotion. If you've been in business for more than 5 years, you're probably pretty emotionally tied to your business in a very healthy way, right? Meaning you're going to guard it. This is my business. I got to protect it. I got customers. I got vendors. I have employees. I have people relying on me. We have got to make sure this business continues to run tip top, right? The most beneficial to the owner as well as everybody else. And that leads to emotional ties, right? Like you're emotionally invested, not just financially invested. And especially the smallest of businesses, right? I mean, my practice used to be 13 people. Now we're down to me and Alona, and we've got 2 others that are helping, okay? Kind of on a part-time basis. So we're definitely a team. We've got Tanae and Chloe, but much smaller. So I'm even that much more emotionally tied to my business, if you will, in terms of my well-being. But sometimes what we do in the beginning to gain business, right, is we give away some things. And so what you want to look at, though, is that as you gain more clients, there really may be a number of clients that don't really want what it is you're giving away. And there may be some clients that, you know what, they really do want to continue to have whatever it is you're giving away. Now, what would that be? Okay. So let me give you an example. So for 25 years. So I celebrated having my own practice for 25 years in May of this year. What I would do the first 25 years is that anytime somebody needed a copy of their tax return, we sent it to them for free, right? Now, let's be clear. When I finished the tax return, whether it was a business or an individual or business tax return, we always send them a copy then. We have to, by law, it's required. Here's a copy of your return. You need to look it over. Here's all the work papers with your individual return. Ensure that it's complete. Look this over before you authorize us to file this for you, right? So I've already provided it to the client. But we would have invariably people that would come back and like, hey, I'm in a rush, or my bank needs it, or this or that. Now, we would only send it to the client. We never send anything to third parties, ever, ever. Okay? Fellow tax pros, do not send it to third party. I don't care what your approval is, how long you've known them. I don't care if it's family. The IRS does not allow it. Back in 2011, they disallow it. And if you want to do it, the IRS has, and it'll take you 8 hours to study it. It'll be probably a 3-page disclaimer, and every request from every single one of your clients, every single time, for every single year, for every single document, they have to approve you with all of these disclosures. So just don't do it. You can just tell everybody, and it's true. The IRS doesn't allow me to send anything to third party, period, the end. Okay. Fellow CPAs, if you're sending financials from QuickBooks that you prepared or you printed from your clients and you're now sending it to third party, you know the problem with that, because it either needs to be an audit or a review or compilated. Okay. Now let me pull back a little bit, because where I'm going with this, for those that have been in business for more than 5 years, okay, so I've been in business for more than 25 years now. I always gave away just, oh, you need another copy, here you go. Guess what? We're still going to do that, right? Because now, especially, it's pretty easy. Now, in the past, right? I mean, I've been practicing so long, there wasn't email, okay? Literally, I'm not kidding around. We didn't have email when I first started practicing. Now it's, okay, here's a PDF, we forward it again. But I want you to think if how many clients I would have, and if everybody asked on the same day for that, how much time that would take, meaning it takes time and effort. So what we started doing after this tax season is we have a few clients that, I'm not saying they abuse it, but they have so much going on in their financial picture. They're working with so many different parties, whether it's different owners, different investors, different banks, you name it, that it seems as though we're getting from specific people a lot of requests. And not just, hey, can you send me a copy of last year's return? It's, can you send me the last 3 years of all of my businesses and my individual and the K1 and the W-2s with supplementals? Can you send me then also the financial statements, right? And so all of a sudden, we're spending an hour pulling together the documents. And I love this client. The client I'm thinking of right now, okay? I won't tell you his name because you might know who he is. Not because he's famous, but if you happen to know me, you probably know who this person is. Now, I love him. And I've been working with this client 25 years. We sent an email and we said, hey, listen, each time you have this request, we're going to need to charge just a little something. If anything, just to cover the time it's taking for my admin to pull this together and then send it to you, right? In the different formats that you have. And so what we can do is, if you don't want to pay for this, we can set up a Dropbox and just load in these documents one time. And then whenever you need them, you can just go to that and get them and pull them and you're ready to rock and roll. You don't even have to come and ask us. And they said, you know what? I appreciate that, but I'm so busy. I love it that I can just come and ask. He's like, I would be happy to pay for that because you're going to save me so much time and effort. I know that if I ask for the 4 things, you're going to send me the 4 things. I'm not going to accidentally send something that I don't need. So we only send it to the client. But here's just a minor example where giving away some time became we're giving away too much time. And in the beginning, guess what I was doing, right? This is right, twiddling my thumbs, right? Boy, when's the, right? Now, if you know me, you know I wasn't twiddling my thumbs, but my point is when I first started, right, if I got a call from somebody and they want to hire me to do their taxes back in 97, because I started my practice with 0 clients. My grandfather said, just start it from scratch. Don't you dare steal one client from the firm you're leaving. Don't you dare take one client. I'm not saying if you did it, there's something wrong with you. I'm just saying I followed my grandfather's advice and started with this many clients. So I was beating the bushes, right? But if somebody were to call me right now, okay, and they were like, hey, when can you get together? I'd be like, 8 a.m. What do you need? I'll come to you. Literally, I will be at your kitchen table. No joke, not a figure of speech. Literally at your kitchen table tomorrow while you're eating breakfast. What do you want to go over? And if they needed something done, it was done by noon. Why? Because I didn't have any other clients to work on, right? So if that client needed something pulled together, hey, I'm happy to get it done. I had the time and I had the effort. You've been in business for more than 5 years. Do yourself a favor, put emotion aside, figure out what it is that you're giving away for free. If you still want to offer it for free to some of those that are 95 years old and you just go, you know what, I'm just still going to do that for free, then do it. Okay. Right. Just do that. But it doesn't mean that for the other 99% of your clients, you keep doing something for free or giving them something for free. When in essence, you know what? Reality check. There's probably a lot that they don't really even notice that you gave it to them for free. They don't really need it. Because I will tell you this, once we got to where we email things all the time, now if somebody wants us to mail them something, right? We did have a conversation. Well, do we want to charge to mail something to them? And we really kind of came up with, when I had more people, I was like, all right, well, if it's going to be more than $5, then we probably need to somehow track that and at least add it to the next bill. Because if we have people that are wanting stuff mailed to them, when we've emailed them a copy that they could print on their own, these are costs. And when you have 2,000 clients and you have 100 of them and they each want you to mail something that you've already emailed to them and it's going to be $10, do the math. That stuff starts adding up, right? So think about doing some of that. And you can still have your cherry pick clients, but guess what you should tell them? Hey, listen, we're charging everybody to do this. I love you. I appreciate you. We're going to keep doing it for free for you through the end of this year, or just we're going to do it for free for you. But please let us know that we're taking special care of you, right? But then for the rest, it's like, hey, if you want us to continue to do this, then here is the cost. Because for small business owners, right, those $5 start adding up. Those $10 start adding up. That 1% adds up, right? So why are you in business, right? It's not popular to say for some reason. I don't know why. And if you've made it to here, then you are part of the elite JJ, the CPA group, and you can take what I'm getting ready to say, right? You can take it. You're in business to make money, to make a profit. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he just said that. I can't believe that somebody on YouTube is saying that we started a business to make money and to have a profit. How dare he? That is awful. Okay, this is the reality of owning a business. Yes, you can have a business and do some kumbaya. I do it. You can have some business and give things away. You can have a business and take care of people and have grace and manners and do business phenomenally and above board and awesome, but you're still doing it to make money and to make a profit, okay? And do you want to be around 5 years from now, or do you want to go, well, I don't think I should raise my prices because somebody might leave me? You know, my grandfather told me about his own practice to ensure that I do with my practice that he said to tell every client, which is this: raise your prices every year. And think of this as an example. If you raise them 5% every year and you lost 5% of your clients every year, you would make the same amount of money in the next year with less clients, and then room for clients to now come in and hire you at the higher rate. Does that mean you just gouge people? Come on, right? I mean, is that really what we're saying here, right? No, what we're talking about is all costs are going up, right? All costs are going up in everything. So don't be the frog in the boiling pot where all of a sudden you disappear in 5 years. And we know this is a reality with everything that we went through. We're going to go through the bonus, and you ready? We're going to do it in a minute or less. The bonus here is the LLC on the shelf. Man, I'm going to tell you this right now. You are good, Amanda, because that bonus LLC on the shelf, I just verbally said it. Amanda put it in there. We didn't even have it on our notes. We've gotten really good. We've got a lot of notes here. I ate into my 1 minute on purpose. You know why? Because it's this simple. If you're an entrepreneur and you got another idea coming, or you always have some new idea, or you're thinking that you want to start a new business and you haven't quite done it, set up the LLC now. Pick 3 letters, 3 numbers, put a comma in an LLC and go set that up. Why? Because you got the start date of it started now. Why? So that if you sell the business, you can have for sure long-term capital gain, because some ideas, I've got some that I've consulted with here recently. One that tunes into our channel regularly went through my 12-week group with me, and they came up with an idea, and within 6 months, we're ready to sell it for millions, literally. Okay. So if you've got something coming up, set up the LLC. Did you know this? You don't actually have to get an EIN the second you get an LLC. Now, if you're getting ready to start a business, you better get an EIN. I gave you a link to it at the bottom of the video at the IRS. But you can set up LLCs. I own LLCs. You ready? I own LLCs that I don't have EINs for. And it's not a secret. It's not a secret. The IRS doesn't require you to get an EIN until you start the trade or business, which means that you set up a bank account, that you're going to sell anything, right? So set up an LLC, you know, right? It may cost a little bit of money, but it would save you potentially. So you got a hot idea coming. You got something that's coming up. You think you're going to split out some things, get the LLC set up right now. Amanda?
Yes.
I feel good about today.
No, today was amazing.
Anything that we need to add?
No, besides I thank you all for tuning in, and I hope that you have a fabulous week.
Well, thank you so much. Well, y'all, this has been a great episode. I do want to remind you, in case you jumped on late, that we would love for you to go and support With Flying Colors, a wonderful friend of ours a great supporter of JJ the CPA and the Amanda. But I have a link in the body of this video. Go and support her. Go to her website, buy her book. And basically, this is chock full of beautiful pictures and some inspirational quotes in there that she has come up with. Also, check out her YouTube channel with Flying Colors. Again, I have a link in the body of this video for you to go to that. And to be sure, when you are now dealing with any of these issues, I want you to know this. It is better to hire a professional, okay? It's better to hire a professional to help you when you have a small business. It's good to tune in. I love it that you're tuning in, but take this information, other information, and take it to your advisor, okay? You know, the number one thing that I hear from those that would come to me back when I was bringing on clients, they're like, I would ask them, and this was the advice of my grandfather, who was a CPA, Omar Abbott Slater CPA. Didn't grow up around him, but got some good mentoring from him before I opened my practice and he passed away. But one of the things that he talked about is, and I talk about it in my book, I'm going to grab a copy of it here. Whoops. Right. So what he talked about, and I talk about it in my book, JJ the CPA here, it's the top 60 questions of my clients over the last 27 years of my practice. I wrote it a couple of years ago, but it is still applicable. There's nothing that's outdated on it. I cover a lot of things related to banking. I do cover some things with tax, but I cover banking, things you need to know about getting loans, also things you just key little things to know about your financials. What are the banks looking at? I actually talk about insurance and whatnot. About 20% of this is related to taxes, and it's not current in terms of tax law. It's about basics and tax strategy. But one of the things my grandfather would say is, when somebody hires you, ask them why they are leaving their other tax pro. You know what the number one reason I would hear, which is, if you Google it, probably be the number one reason that anybody leaves their tax pro. And I want you to hear me on this because it's not a good excuse. But what they would say is, well, they don't ever call me. They don't ever come to me with any ideas. And I say, well, I don't know if we're a good fit. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, listen, I plan to call you, but I want clients that are interested. Okay. So a dentist, right? They're not going to call you and go, hey, just check. Do you have any cavities? Do you need to come in real quick? Do you have any cavities? Right? They expect that when you have a cavity and you're in pain, you're going to call them and then you're going to get it taken care of. And so what I tell them is, I want clients that are interested. You can't wait for me to call you. Now, granted, the kind of clients I'm working with, we routinely get together. There's routine communication. I'm reaching out to them. Do we need to get together? Or, hey, this is when we need to get together. But I'm telling you, 100% of my clients know that when something's coming up, they need to call me. We need to talk about it. Okay. And most of the time it's real quick, especially as I get to know clients. It's something quick answer. Oh, do it this way. But if you aren't hearing from your tax advisor, I would ask you, are they hearing from you? Call them. And if you really have somebody that's not calling you back, say, knock on their door and say, can I spend some more money with you? Are you just doing that well that I have a client here. I want to spend just a few more bucks with you. Can you give me some ideas? And then if your tax pro is like, I don't have time, then yeah, get rid of them, but call them. Okay. Let me tell you this, fellow tax pros, stop taking on everybody. Start saying no. Fire a few clients, the ones that you don't know really what the hell you're doing. Fire that client. You don't know what you're doing. You're in trouble. You're not doing a good job for them. You know it. Fire that client for starters. And then it'll give you some confidence to go, you know what? I know what I'm doing with the rest of these clients, and I don't want to do it for you. See what I'm saying? Start with some confidence. Don't work with everybody under the sun, right? All of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't know if I should get rid of that client. Why? You're going to have another client walking in the door tomorrow, paying whatever you say. But what I'm telling you is, for those of you that have tax advisors and you're going to tell me, well, I don't hear from them, I don't have any ideas. Take an idea that I told you today and call them. And guess what? Most likely, if you say, hey, I heard something on YouTube, they're like, whoa. You can't be listening to anybody on YouTube. You need to come talk to me. Great. When can we talk? So get in front of your tax advisor so that you're able to get in front of this. All right. Hey, in the body of this video, I also have a link to my prior lives. This is our 7th episode. If you've been at every single one, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you. And with that, I would love it if you'd subscribe. See, one of the things that I do is I always wait really till the end of my videos, whether they're 3 minutes long or this long, to then say, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. We'll see you next Monday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Appreciate you. Love you.